Yeah. Okay. All right.
Good afternoon. Want to welcome all of you who've joined with us for the December 13th, 2017 meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. And want to thank you for your patience. We were a little bit late getting started. We had a closed session prior to this session. So with that, then we'll move to the announcements, call the roll for the open session. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get started into the agenda. So, Flo, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, Supervisors. Cerna?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Peters?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Natoli?
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and is webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Sunday, December 17th at 9 p.m. on Channel 14. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may fill out a speaker slip and hand it to staff. When the chair calls your name, please come to the podium. Also, please silence your electronic devices at this time.
Great. Okay. With that, Krista, would you lead us to Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have only 5 items on the agenda, but it's still a very full one, and you can't measure it by the paper because there's probably enough here for 70 items. But with that, then we have a little bit of a change in the order, so I'm going to allow you to help walk us through that, and but we'll get to everything before we're done. So,
Okay, right. So just quickly, we're going to do your off agenda first, and then we are going to go out of order. We're taking items 5, 2, 1, 3, and 4. So I'll call your off agenda item first. I need a motion to determine the necessity to hear the item.
So move.
Second.
Let's vote.
Unanimous vote. And this is a communications received and filed. No action is required. Travel to Fort Worth, Texas for NACO's 2017 Poverty Summit and Fall Board Meeting, December 6th through the 9th, 2017. This would be from Supervisor Cerna, District 1.
All right.
And
Motion
now,
to accept the item.
Moved.
Okay, second. All right.
approved.
Great.
Unanimous
And
vote.
he's back safe and sound. He's living proof
He's
right
safe
there.
and
so.
sound, yeah. This was,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right. Next item.
Okay, so we are starting with item 5. This was continued from yesterday's meeting. There's also a title change from yesterday. Approval of acquisition loan agreement and loan commitment for the Courtyard Inn transit-oriented development.
Okay. We have our presenters on this. And thank you all for coming back for the second round of this today.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Susan Veazey, Program Manager with SHRA, and it is my great pleasure to bring forward for your approval financing for Courtyard Inn, a community which, as proposed, will be the largest permanent supportive housing development in Sacramento County since the construction of 7th and H. Courtyard Inn will be the first development of its kind in Sacramento, as it will include wraparound case management for homeless combined with training designed to increase employability. As you may recall, in November 2016, this board approved a $5.6 million loan commitment for the acquisition and construction of Courtyard Inn. At that time, the project was designed for workforce housing rather than permanent supportive housing. To change the target population for this development requires additional resources. Therefore, the report before you requests approval of an additional $2.9 million, which would bring the total gap financing approval to $8.5 million. The makeup of these additional funds consists of $300,000 of affordable housing funds, $1 million of community development block grant, and $1.6 million of housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, commonly referred to as HOPWA funds. As background, Courtyard Inn is currently being operated as a motel located north of Interstate 80 and west of Watt Avenue. The site contains 148 rooms and a vacant 8,500 square foot restaurant. SHRA has been working with Mercy Housing on this complex development since 2014. Improvements to Courtyard Inn will include the rehabilitation of the existing 2-story motel building, which will be converted into 20 studios and 61 bedroom units. 12 2-bedroom units will be added in newly built structures. The existing stucco will be repaired, and the existing second-level walkways will be replaced or removed. All buildings will have new roofing and photovoltaic solar systems. Each unit will include new kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, windows, and heating and air systems. The existing vacant restaurant space will be converted to a community space that includes a 24/7 desk clerk, management and resident services offices. There will be a community room with fully equipped kitchen, laundry facility, and exercise areas. Other on-site amenities will include a community garden, pool, barbecue areas, and a fenced dog run. Staff has approved Mercy Housing Management as the property management company. On-site resident services will be provided by Mercy Housing Resident Services and WellSpace Health. Additionally, up to 15 Mental Health Services Act units with counselors are being considered by the county. In closing, SHRA staff is requesting approval of a loan agreement in the amount of $6 million, allowing Mercy to acquire Courtyard Inn by mid-January, and a loan commitment in the amount of $2.5 million for construction. A competitive 9% tax credit allocation will be submitted in February. If successful, construction should begin by the end of 2018. On behalf of SHRA, I would like to offer thanks to Stephen Dawes of Mercy Housing, who is with us today, and his team who worked and will continue to work tirelessly to realize this vision. Staff is available to address any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Susan, for your presentation.
Very welcome.
And I want to turn it to my colleague, Susan Peters,
Thank you.
who deserves a lot of credit as well. I know you worked on this for years, so.
Yeah. Thank you. I had a question about the project-related services. You've got WellSpace Health, and then I hadn't, maybe I heard it but didn't focus on it. It says 15 hours a week of on-site services by Mercy. So what's the difference between the two services, sets of services?
Sure. With our financing, we do require a minimum of 15 hours of services for a property of this type. And so will be the basic services that we have required in all of our communities, and then WellSpace will be offering enhanced services that are more
So
tied
are they there as a property
population.
manager then? Is Mercy there with 15 hours a week as like a property manager, the physical plant? Or are they offering up health counseling, et cetera?
The health counseling will be from WellSpace, but the resident services. So Mercy will. Mercy is an integrated organization. They have both. So they'll have their management agent who will have a desk clerk 24/7, and then in addition, there will be general resident services, which will involve coordination and resident activities. To the extent that there are families located in the property, there may be after-school care, and then the WellSpace is specific to help the needs of the homeless.
Could I maybe ask for Mercy to answer that question?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Mr. Dawes.
Good afternoon, Stephen Dawes with Mercy Housing. So I think to put a little finer point on that, WellSpace Health will provide direct case management to the residents, and then our resident services coordinator staff does more social, recreational, community building activities for the entire resident population.
Why do they have to be separated?
Well, so WellSpace Health has program funding specifically to do case management, and it's fairly limited to that scope of work that they're able to do, and so we find it's useful to have our own staff to bridge that divide between our traditional property management and the case managers, just to make sure that we're providing a number of other activities to create the type of healthy environment that we think everyone needs there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Another question.
Good. Thanks, Dave.
Or really just a comment. this project depends on 9% low-income housing tax credits, and we're waiting breathlessly, I guess, to hear what the tax plan is coming out of Congress. Since
Now I don't have to ask my question.
so the answer is they'll probably be back for a loan from the county. How does the timing work? Let's say the answer this month from Washington, D.C. is they're not going to fund that program. When does it affect us?
Well, I
project?
think there are two different tax credit types. There's the 4% combined with the bond, which is typically in our state an over-the-counter program, and that's really the program that we are most concerned about, because it's the private activity bond, getting rid of private activity bonds, which are then combined as a requirement to access those 4% credits that I think are giving us, the ones that the program that's keeping us up most at night. The 9% is not quite at risk. The whole program, the value of the credits may be impacted by what happens with the corporate tax rate, but there are no bonds associated with the 9% competitive tax credits. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve, did you want to make a comment about that? Or you were kind of nodding back there, that's why.
Sure, we're obviously following this very, very closely. But Susan's correct. The 9% has not been directly threatened, but I'd say in addition to the corporate tax rate having a direct impact on all of the tax credits, the fear is that if the 4% tax credit was eliminated, basically half the market would evaporate, which would then have another indirect impact on whatever was remaining. And so in the sort of the wisdom of the 1987 creation of the tax credit, there was a significant sort of market-based component to how these tax credits work, and so unfortunately that always has some uncertainty associated with these, and that is being extraordinarily exacerbated at this time. But
So as far as we know, all of this would go into effect December 31st, and because you're applying for the February, in the February timeframe, it could be affected.
Absolutely, yeah. The corporate tax rate, whether it's implemented in next year, 2019 or 2020, as the various proposals have had it, they would all impact how the tax credits would benefit our development like this.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions by board members or comments? If not, turn back to you, Ms. Peters.
Thank you. This is a project we've been working on for several years, and I'm glad to see it come to this point. The timing is unfortunate with the potential changes in tax law, but it's required a lot of patient understanding from SHRA to help me work through this project. And I, thank you, Lachelle and Christine and your staff. I really appreciate that. And to Mercy for hanging in there this whole time. It's been a slog, but here we are. So I'm thrilled to be able to move the adoption of the recommendations.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I don't have anybody signed to speak. Anyone wish to address this item? All right, so you don't come forward. Then with that, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Yeah. Good deal. All righty.
What item?
Very good. Next item.
Okay, for your next item, we are going to item 2. This is refer land use proposals to the military for continued safe operations of military installations and training activities general plan amendment. Add a new section preserving and protecting military operations to the land use element, and add figure 2A airports in Sacramento County to the circulation element. The environmental determination is exempt.
Okay, Leanne.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Leanne Moffett, your planning director. Today we have 4 items in a row that are all associated with the fourth round of general plan amendments for the year 2017. We have broken these actions into a Part A and a Part B. Part A is going to be your item 2, and I do have a PowerPoint. And so I will start that. We will have a resolution for you to adopt at the end of this item, that is the Part A. So we are required under state government code to revise our development application forms to make sure that we are informing the military of when we have applications that may affect their military operations. Specifically when a project is within 1,000 feet of a military base or under a low-level flight path or within a special use airspace. We have been doing this for several years now, and so we are incorporating it into our general plan as a requirement, but as a practice, we have already started doing this a couple of years ago. This is the map that has been prepared and forwarded to us, prepared on behalf of the military by the state and given to us, and so this is the map we will be incorporating. It references McClellan, Mather, and some other low-level flight operations. As I indicated, we've already revised our development permit application form to make sure that we are referring these out, and we have a general plan amendment to appropriately reference that, so that we are requiring the consideration of new growth on military readiness activities in our land use element, along with the map. So in the general plan amendment, we will have a new section called Preserving and Protecting Military Operations with an objective, intent language, and implementation measures. This slide shows the details of the proposed objective. I'm not going to read it out loud here. I'll let you look at that, and that was also in your board materials, as well as the implementation measure. And the map that I've already referenced will be incorporated into the circulation elements. Such. This was heard by the Planning Commission in October and was recommended for approval on a 5-0 vote. So the actions that we are asking you to take today is to recognize the exempt status of the request and to adopt the resolution, which is Part A of our general plan round, to approve the amendments. And that concludes my presentation.
Thanks, Leanne. I guess a practical question on your page 7 of your charts, and it's the language, what the proposed objective is. I get that. So we notify the military, and then what? They can have they raised objections in the past? And if they do, I mean, they have the ability to operate out of our airports. We don't have anything to say about it, really. I mean, except for the the aircraft control part of it as far as the takeoffs land, but I thought that they always retain that right anyway.
It's more about land use proposals that might affect their military operations. So if we were putting perhaps a sensitive use in a flight area or something.
But we wouldn't do that out of normal course anyway, because we have other things that govern good land use to a great extent anyway.
It's just ensuring that we notify them so they can comment. Which we have a robust system of notifying all kinds of interested parties. So this is just making sure that the military is one of those parties that has an opportunity to comment on land use proposals.
So, Mr. Chair, could I dovetail off that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So can you give us an example, Leanne, as it relates to the fact that Travis, for instance, uses SAC International SMF for touch and goes training on occasion.
Right.
Obviously, that's in Sacramento County, and it's next to an active development in Metro Air Park, which has a number of entitlements already has their backbone infrastructure and environmental clearances. But that there's other parts of Natomas that are at a little further distance, but not that far from the airport, that are at the beginning stages of the planning process. So how would this amendment affect in the future consideration of that particular operation as it relates to various parcels that are at different levels of the entitlement process and the planning process too?
I don't think this is going to affect Natomas or Metro Air Park. It's more if there was something specific at like McClellan or Mather or in this low-level flight area that we would need to refer them so that they would have an opportunity to comment. It's not county-wide.
Okay.
It's where it's
But I thought it's not where the actual military operation is taking place?
Well, the map that we've received is the slide that I've showed on slide 3, which is Mather, McClellan, and this other low-level overflight area. It's not countywide.
Maybe Mr. Leonard knows the answer to this question. Do takeoffs and landings at occasional ones at SMF not constitute military operations for the purpose of this amendment?
Yes, they would, or any other facility. And as a condition of us receiving either federal grants via the FAA for improvement of a public use airport, or in the case of Mather McClellan, where we receive the property as federal surplus property, there's certain conditions that get put in place. And so there's nothing we can do to say no to these military operations. As Leanne mentioned, this notification requirement kicks in within 1,000 feet of one of these facilities where the military activities are taking place, or in those low-level flight operations areas, which are predominantly rural or remote areas. So there's really nothing we can do. It is a notification requirement. And the same type of notification would kick in, say, for example, under state law where we have the airport land use and compatibility plans in place that are administered through SACOG. It's very similar to that process, and in this case what we'd be doing is providing notification for development within that 1,000 feet to the military.
Okay, so for instance, that would affect Metro Air Park in our case.
So that's correct. It's within 1,000 feet.
It may be right on the cusp of affecting, I assume that goes for other jurisdictions as well?
Can I just say one thing? The map that they have given us is for Mather and McClellan only. They actually did not identify Sacramento International.
That's kind of why I'm asking.
On the map that they gave us. So that is not part of this amendment. The graphic is Mather and McClellan only, and that's what we got from
So
them.
somewhere someone determined that there are military operations, pertinent ones to this, that are going on at McClellan and Mather and not at
Yes.
SMF.
That's
Okay.
the map we received from the state on behalf of the military.
Okay.
So that's what we're incorporating.
In the 1,000 feet, is that measured from the property line or from the, the outside edge of the
Center line of the
pavement, pavement of the
I'm
runways?
assuming it's the outside edge of the mapped area that they gave us on the map.
Okay, so I'm looking at their mapped area. So you mean the part that's mapped in blue that represents McClellan?
Yes.
So that's more than the airport. That's a big area.
So it's a pretty big area. We'll add them. We notify all kinds of people. You know, when an application comes in, any application may notify 30, 40 parties, all the water districts, the school districts. So they'll just go on that normal notification process. And then if they have a concern about the land use proposal, then they'll just participate, as does anyone else who's commenting on a land use proposal.
But if I'm not mistaken, then they've taken in the entirety, it looks to me like the entirety of the Mather property there. I mean, that's a very small scale to look at. If I'm looking at the diagram correctly, that looks to me like the
Yes.
entire acreage, whether it's airport or commerce center or housing or anything else.
Yeah.
Is there a better map than that?
We have a large scale of this, but this is the map that we were provided.
Okay, so
don't have
does
a
that
better
map,
map.
is it inclusive? I'm looking at Todd or Tim, so does that include the entirety of the Mather complex, all 5,800 acres? If it does, I guess it does. I'm curious, though.
Yes, it does.
And likewise, McClellan, the entirety of the former military base?
That's correct. The map was generated, as Leanne has mentioned, through a state process, contacting the military, different arms of the military, and providing those folks providing feedback to the state, then passing it back to us at the local jurisdiction.
And yet, when they probably wouldn't use Executive or Franklin Field, but when they use SAC International, it's not a military installation, and so it doesn't trigger the same process for those facilities.
Apparently not.
Okay.
So on that
questions.
subject, though, looking at the blob of blue representative of McClellan and adjacent, looks like adjacent lands to McClellan Business Park, seems like those are adjacent lands in the city of Sacramento.
Yes, so we're responsible for the land use components within the unincorporated county. So where the land, it would only have to do with the land use authority that we have in the unincorporated county. So we would send it out within 1,000 feet for county proposals, for county applications, only in the unincorporated county.
Is the city of Sacramento required to do the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's much fine tuning to the map, so I guess they've determined that that's what they want notified, the property 1,000 feet from the entirety of the perimeter.
I will say we have been trying to do this for the last couple of years, and nothing of particular issue has come to my attention where they've commented back with concerns. So it doesn't seem to be generating a lot of comments.
No, I'm
back,
fine on the
but-
notice. It's just that, we have pretty, good precision to our planning and to the notification process, far from perfect, but they've just taken the informed installation and mapped it and said anything goes on there that relates to flight or anything within 1,000 feet, that former military installation is subject to the notification. So, all right. I don't have anyone's time to speak. Any other member of the board wish to ask any questions or comments? Anyone in the audience? Okay. So we take action as part of the general plan.
Yes, in this case, we're going to go ahead and have you recognize the exempt status of the request under CEQA guidelines, and then also adopt Part A resolution, a separate resolution on our general plan round today.
Okay.
Yes, that's
I know. Krista, you got us there.
Yeah.
That question's been asked a lot over the years.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. That is the motion. We have a motion to that effect?
I'll move it.
Okay. And moved and seconded then to approve the staff recommendation as outlined with the attached resolution as relates to the general plan. And if nothing further, then please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Okay. Thank you. Next item.
Okay, so now we're moving to item number 1, Sacramento International Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan. Request for a general plan amendment to incorporate the Sacramento International Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan into the county general plan land use element and noise element, and incorporate the corresponding safety zones and noise contours into the general plan land use diagram. The environmental determination is a negative declaration.
Okay, thanks, Leanne.
All right, we did not prepare a PowerPoint on this item. I will just make some brief remarks. State law does mandate that airport plans be incorporated into the county general plan. The Sacramento Area Council of Governments, SACOG, acting as the Airport Land Use Commission, adopted the Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan for International, the ALUCP, in December of 2013. The board report on pages 2 and 3 sort of describe the changes as a result of this current ALUCP. They are on pages 2 and 3. They're sort of broadly can be characterized as changes in land use categories to be more broad, less restrictive, more specific in the kind of calculations you have to do about densities and intensities in certain of the areas. The noise contours are more narrow than the old ones were. And in the 60 CNEL, existing zone properties are grandfathered in a different way than they used to be. And there are new standards for wildlife hazards in the new plan. Because of the complexity and nuances in the plan, we used to excerpt some portions of the old plans out and put it in the general plan, but in this case, we've concluded it's much better just to incorporate by reference the entire plan because it's not really feasible to excerpt components out into our land use element. And so we are asking that you incorporate it by reference. The Natomas Community Planning Advisory Council recommended approval in September on a 5-0 vote, and the Planning Commission also recommended approval on a 5-0 vote.
Okay.
Questions?
Any questions? Sounds like a streamlined effort, although I did look at, in looking at the charts, I would say that the sub notes, and then I guess you want folks to read the whole document in order to get the entire gist of it so people don't misinterpret it. But
Right.
I don't know that I find it any simpler or any more complicated, but I guess you eliminate some of the footnotes, and then you reference other documents as far as the footnote. And that's intentional, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Do we sign up to speak on this?
I have no one signed up to speak. I don't have anybody signed up to speak on anything, so I guess everybody's here just to listen today. So
I think you might have a speaker at the back of the room.
Oh, we do? Okay. Please come forward. Yeah, I just, to our clerk. I'll make the announcement again. If you would like to speak on any item that's on the agenda, we've already done item 2 and 5, but we're on item 1. Please fill out a speaker form. So just introduce yourself, and glad you're here.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Orr. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Natomas Unified School District.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thanks for having us. I'm just here to share that we have property that looks like it appears to fall within the zone that's being affected partially, maybe halfway through. We've recently invested money with the county on some development of that property, and just received notice at 1:45 today. So we're not sure how this affects us, but have not had a chance to review or comment.
I'm sorry, you received notice of what at 1:45?
That this would be on the agenda today.
No. I mean, this has been...
Send notices out.
There was a notice I supposedly sent on December 4th, which we have not received in our office yet, but outside of that, we were not aware.
Okay.
We've been working with the county on our property and working well, and so we weren't sure if...
All right. Well, you got notice. You're here. You're speaking to it, and you either were supposed to get notice or somebody told you about it. So you've been working on it. Okay, Doug.
So just wanted to be on the record to say we're not sure if it's a positive effect for the property or a negative. We have not had a chance to vet that. So.
Well, maybe we could get some at least response to that. So I don't know, Leanne or Todd, if we know the property and.
We're actively working with the school district. They do have an application in associated with a school site in the Natomas area that is outside of the urban services boundary and urban policy area. So we've been working with them on the submittal of an application to address that policy issue before the board. The ALUCP plan itself is something that's prepared by SACOG as the Land Use Commission, so we're mandated to incorporate it in the general plan, but as part of that incorporation, we don't really have any authority over the content of the plan per se. That was up to SACOG to adopt, which they did back in 2013. And so I think in some correspondence we sent to the school district with regard to the application, we have asked some questions of them and their consultants about the school site and its relationship to the ALUCP, just to make sure that the CEQA document that we would be bringing forward for the board to rely upon would address whatever issues there might exist. But we don't really have control at this point over the content of the airport land use compatibility plan. We only have a state mandate to incorporate it into our general plan.
So even if there were objections by a party to this, we're required by law, is what I'm hearing, that we include it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think, I'm not aware that we have any other out. We don't have any authority over the plan that was adopted back in 2013.
Doesn't mean that we can't certainly communicate to our partners at the school district what it is, right?
That is true, yes.
And trying our best to answer their question about whether it's an adverse effect or not on their property holdings.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Doug, do you feel sufficiently informed relative to, obviously it sounds like you got some consultants on your side of it that are working
To go check.
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. We just wanted to find out more information today and make sure that we've expressed our opinion.
Good.
So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, and certainly stay in touch with Leanne and Todd and folks. So. Okay, anyone else on item number 1? All right, seeing them, then I'll bring it back to the board. Any other information, Leanne, you need to share with us before we consider a motion?
With regard to the motions, I did want to point out that we would ask you to act on recommendation 1, which has to do with the considering information in the initial study negative declaration prepared by SACOG, and then have you defer action on recommendation 2, as that has to do with adopting the overall resolution for 3 of the items on your agenda today.
Okay.
Make that motion.
Okay, so that is the motion. Act on the first part of it, and we'll hold on the second part until we do the entirety of the resolution. All right, if there's nothing further, please vote.
Who seconded? I didn't hear a second.
Ms. Frost did.
Okay.
No, she just did just now. You didn't hear it because you didn't hear it until just now.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, very good. Thank you for being
Okay.
tuned into all that, Ms. Lowe. All right, next item, please.
For the next item, I do need to take an oath if we do have people signed up to speak.
Okay.
This is item number 3. This is on the Northborough project, general plan amendment, community plan amendment, 2 specific plan amendments, rezone, large lot tentative subdivision map, small lot tentative subdivision map, special development permit, affordable housing strategy, and design review for the properties located on the east side of 16th Street, and north of the intersection of Alberta Road and 16th Street in the Rio Linda, Alberta community. The environmental document is an environmental impact report.
Okay, and you indicated testimony is under oath?
Yes.
Okay, so before Leanne gives her, you can stay there, Leanne, but anyone who's either signed up or believes they may be speaking on this item, if you could please stand and be sworn, and Flo will administer the oath.
Okay. So raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is, I do. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give this board is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm? I do. Okay, when you get to the podium, please state your name for the record and the statement, I have been sworn.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Ready for launch.
And I do have a relatively robust PowerPoint on this one.
Well, if you could boil all this down into a PowerPoint, you're doing good then, let me tell you.
It's a fairly big project. So this is the Northborough project. We've already identified the location. There are a host of requests associated with this, and I will be going through each of these one by one. So for context, the site is relatively flat and undeveloped grassland at the moment. In your aerial over here, the site is outlined in black at the upper right-hand side of that aerial. The site is up against the Placer County line, immediately adjacent to Gibson Ranch Park. You can see the large Dry Creek Parkway sort of trending northeast to southwest on the map, and we have downtown Rio Linda at the bottom left of the slide here. So it's in the larger Rio Linda and Alberta community. The site is part of the Alberta Specific Plan that had a fairly lengthy history associated with it, with a lot of community involvement in preparation of that specific plan that was approved by the board finally in 2007. The project originally came in as the Countryside Equestrian Estates, but it has evolved and changed into the project you have before you today. And there was also a public facilities financing plan approved in 2007 with regard to the overall specific plan to address the funding of infrastructure and facilities, which is currently being updated. And we have a number of other maps in the Alberta specific plan that are also making their way through. In some cases, some of those maps only go to the Planning Commission because the sites were already rezoned, so the board won't end up seeing all of those maps. But we have a number of projects underway in the specific plan moving forward. This graphic shows the Alberta Specific Plan, and it was developed as a result of identifying some urban development centered at 16th and Alberta in the Alberta community, in the Rio Linda and Alberta community plan process, and in the county general plan. And so the overall specific plan features a town center focused at the intersection of Rio Linda and Alberta, right here. So there's intended to be, this is where the commercial and multifamily in the orange would be located down here at that more busy intersection. There's smaller lot single family in this sort of golden red, more traditional single family in the pale yellow, and then originally this more pale green up here was going to be an ag-res buffer. And this is the site that we are speaking of.
Yes.
Another feature of the plan is this loop road. Knowing that 16th Street someday will be a very busy road north-south, conveying traffic from Placer County north and south, there was this alternative circulation feature of the plan, this loop road, it was intended to be moderately busy, but also be able to have people walk on that street. There was an interest in retaining the community character, managing growth, and there was, importantly, a holding capacity placed as a policy matter in the specific plan, and that's one of the items that you have before you today, with a 4,500 cap on the number of urban homes and an assumed number of 450 ag-res homes for a total cap of 4,950 homes. Talking a little bit about the regional context, this graphic shows the approved Placer County plan to the north here. So the site is in the center of this graphic here. It's surrounded by Gibson Ranch County Park. This is an ag-res subdivision that's been there for many, many years to the south. The larger Antelope community is off to the east. And we have the Placer Vineyards plan here. So way back in the day, there had been talk of having an equivalent ag-res buffer up in Placer County, and that ag-res buffer never came to fruition. So there is a small swath here of open space, but there isn't an equivalent ag-res buffer to the north. And so that's one of the justifications for the applicant asking to come back in and consider this urban development. So the overall Placer Vineyards plan, we've included some facts on this slide about its acreage. It's over 14,000 units with office, retail, schools, et cetera, and that was approved in 2007 and is set to break ground anytime now, obviously, probably not in 2017, if they haven't broken ground by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
It looks like a pink box there in the middle there. What is that? It looks like the number 11 on it.
Hang on, let me get this.
Yeah.
This right here is Northborough 2. It's under the same ownership, and it's coming forward separately, and it is already within the specific plan urban area. But it is under the same, I don't know if it's entirely the same ownership. It's called Northborough 2, though. There may be some ownership similarities.
Could I just ask you a follow-on question while I get that exhibit up there? So there are a couple of in-holdings, and maybe those property owners are thinking something similar to what's being proposed here. But in the event that they aren't, what sort of buffering, maybe we get to this, for properties that will still be zoned ag-res?
Right.
What sort of fencing and any other protections for properties that have been and are consistent with at least the existing plan before we take some action that may change all that. So,
to be frank, the plan sort of presumes that eventually they may develop, and it doesn't really have a large ag-res buffer around those. And I'm not sure if we're going to hear testimony from one of those properties, but they were not processed as part of this plan. The plan addresses more how to incorporate that into the overall plan if they do ultimately develop, and it doesn't have.
Well, and I
large
appreciate that. And I know the development group spent with me and explained at least on one of the properties. But if somebody chose horses over houses and wanted to maintain that, then I guess my concern would be that you don't put a backyard fence right against somebody's field fence,
right?
Particularly if they didn't change the zoning. Now, if that changes over time, but I think some of these are far enough off in the planning process that if a change were to occur, certainly there's probably not just a matter of weeks or months, but maybe even some years before some of this would begin to build out in any great extent. But again, having been a part of the board that had these, along with colleague Susan Peters, when we initially heard this plan and all that went into that, things have changed. I get that.
Right.
Part of the argument here is that things have changed in Placer County, so therefore, it's appropriate and proper to have this before us today. But if somebody wanted to maintain the ag-res use, they shouldn't feel, put upon or forced out because, that's what their zoning is and that's what it allows for. And so I think some accommodation, and I just put that out there today as we get into this, and we'll be hearing from folks later on in the presentation. But so your answer is there's no fencing setback, there was no accommodation that was made for if those AR5 properties?
We certainly have paid a lot of attention, I think is a different question that you're asking, Down in this area, backing up to the existing residences, there is a buffer there and an open space area there,
Right.
because we know that those people are staying. And I'm not aware of testimony or requests that have come from the other property owners to treat them that way.
Yeah.
I will say we do still have the maps coming back to the board, because today the only action you'll be taking is on the general plan amendment.
Right.
So if as a result of today's hearing we conclude that we do need to look at some additional conditions, we could do that and report back on that at your next hearing when we come back with the rezone and the map. So if as a result of testimony that seems like that's needed, or board member comment, that's definitely something we could look into.
Well, and again, those in-holdings may change, change hands, and they'll go into more of a development mode, presuming this plan's adopted. But I've had enough of this, certainly in District 5 over the years, with Elk Grove and Rancho Cordova and just general growth in the Vineyard area and so forth, that, things can change, but you can still drive around some of those areas and see pockets of ag res, and I think we learned some lessons over time that help to at least buffer in part some of the impacts of putting a backyard fence to some of these field fence that continue to want to have animal husbandry or whatever, and that had the appropriate zoning, and actually that zoning had been in place prior to some of the development. And when you're on the edge, obviously things can change over time, and I think even this plan itself is an example of what was anticipated, where we were going to have 245 homes, and anticipated people would have animals and livestock and so forth, and equestrian trails. Well, that's all, gone by the wayside, and now we're looking at a density bump that would take that 3 or 4 times more homes. And again, it may fit very well, but I'm still concerned about perimeter properties and whether folks are here or not. I certainly want to have that conversation. So
Okay.
Thanks.
Good to know. The entitlement that is you would be acting upon today would be the general plan amendment, so moving the area from ag res into urban and recreation. There is a community plan amendment making a similar change, but most importantly also amending policy LU6, which has to do with that cap on the number of units, to reflect the additional urban acreage and to modify the capacity of the urban area from 4,500 units to 5,627 units to accommodate this plan. There would be a specific plan amendment to recognize the variety of land uses and the various residential densities, the school site, the drainage areas, and a rezone that looks very similar to the specific plan amendment, with again the 3 different residential density types and the drainage areas as open space. There's also a large lot tentative subdivision map so that they can work on the project in chunks with these various phases and large lots, and then the subdivision map for all the lots here. So in general, there are larger lots down in the bottom right-hand. Oops, I did something there. I hit the wrong button.
Oh,
there we go.
for you.
Sorry. Uh-oh. What I did.
Want to show a movie? Want to show a movie while we're waiting?
I hit a button.
Try it one more time. Okay, it worked now.
Okay, there we go. Let me flip back. Okay, I'll be careful what I do. I think it was operator error up here. Pretty sure that was me. Okay, so there are some larger lots down in this corner, variety of standard lots. I did want to point out right along the loop road, there are some smaller sort of townhome lots that are alley product. We did want to make sure that homes fronted on that loop road so that there were eyes on the street, particularly if kids are using the loop road to circulate around and families to get to the school. We didn't want a sound wall on that loop road, so there are some smaller lots there on the loop road. So there is a variety of lot sizes, and we can talk about that more if there are any specific questions. There is a special development permit to allow some of the urban neighborhood streets to have an attached sidewalk, which planning did conclude on some of these smaller, less trafficked streets would be acceptable. The specific plan calls for everything to have separated sidewalks, and we did agree with the applicant that some of the smaller, less trafficked streets, that would be an acceptable thing to do. So overall, the project components include 1,127 new homes with a range of housing types and densities everywhere from RD4 up to RD7. Again, those townhome lots that I pointed out along the Loop Road, and the larger lots that have an average of 9,375 square feet down in this pale yellow area. There is no separate commercial in this part of that project. We would be relying upon the commercial in the town center, so this would be more residents to support that future commercial down at Alberta and 16th. There are 3 parks, a 1.5 acre park, a 3.3 acre park, and a 5.5 acre park shown in green. An elementary school site of 12.5 acres with capacity for 800 students. A future recreation center, which is the red shown here by the drainage area. The 2 detention basins shown in blue here and here. This is the school site. Slightly darker blue are the detention basins. A trail system, including down here with access to Gibson Ranch. So this would be an equestrian trail, and this would be more pedestrian trails along this road. There's a new groundwater well. It's very important to the Rio-Alberta Community Water District. The water well will be located up here, and the water district is very anxious to get this well site up as it has better quality water than some of their other wells, and that's needed for the community. There's also a 3 million gallon water storage tank there. There'll be a SMUD substation over on the left of the plan up on 16th Street. And that'll serve both this area as well as a portion of South Placer County. And there'll be full water, wastewater infrastructure on-site and off-site. There will be on-site road improvements to Kasser, Tanwood, Loop Road, with 3 roundabouts on Tanwood Road, improvements to 16th. Alberta will be built out at 4 lanes, 16th at 4 lanes. Some conditions there, some intersection improvements at 16 in Alberta, and depending on whether it's done as part of a county project or by this applicant, some additional improvements off-site at 28th Street and Alberta Road where there's existing traffic problems.
Leanne, just pause for a second. Sue Frost.
Sure.
Leanne, the improvements to Alberta, does that include the Dry Creek Bridge widening?
I'm going to have to look to staff to see how much is conditioned on this project versus how much is part of a county road project, because we have multiple things going on.
I think the Dry Creek Bridge widening was, it seems like, if my memory serves, it was scheduled for 2021, and the question I have relates to timing, because that's one of the big concerns in the community. Are the roads going to have the capacity for the rooftops that are coming, and because they're already, I mean,
right.
I get texts from people, and they tell me how bad it is out there at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning and during traffic times. So I'm curious as to the timing, and will it include the bridge widening?
Sure. So right now, the structure of the condition for that segment of Alberta Road does not include that segment further to the east. But we have been working with our Department of Transportation to restructure some of the overall Alberta-specific plan rezone conditions relating to transportation infrastructure, because we've heard some of the same concerns as we've gone out to the CPAC. The idea there is to have logical segments such that there's minimal disruption to the existing residents, and it addresses their existing traffic needs or constraints in the best way possible. So we will be working with transportation. Hopefully we can align individual project responsibilities with county projects to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, because even if you widen to 4 lanes, if the bridge is still 2 lanes, you still have the bottleneck. It's one of those real problems for the community. So
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't know what I'm still trying to figure out the timing of when these rooftops build out versus how that infrastructure plays out? Is it going to play out about the same time, do you think, or?
If you're asking my opinion, that's one thing. I think the market may have a different opinion. I know the current plan right now from the applicant is that they would be targeting next year to do improvement plans, followed by spring 2019, potentially breaking ground. Of course, that assumes that the market holds or improves, doesn't go the opposite direction. So it may well time very nicely to complete those improvements that the county is planning, and that the applicant is planning.
To be seen.
Yeah, and
Thank
again, we will be back with adoption of the conditions associated with the rezone and the map. So we could potentially also follow up more with Department of Transportation on the timing of all of this. Obviously, with all the other projects coming in too, we're seeking funds from all of them collectively, as well as the county road project, to bundle all that together into overall road improvements.
Yeah, because there's a ramp that has to be built up to the bridge, so it's like if you do it at separate times, it could potentially cost a lot more than if you just did it all at the same time.
And we don't really know the timing of the construction and payment of fees by all the projects. So it is a complicated Rubik's Cube of who will be paying first and what's going forward. So the next slide has to do, I think I already mentioned the SMUD facility and the water district facility, so this slide is on that. They do have a design handbook providing a framework for community design principles and architectural styles. So to kind of summarize with some of the key points, I've already mentioned that the request before you would increase the residential urban holding capacity from what was presumed. The project is about 1,127 units. There was some ag-res units assumed, so it's about a 915 unit overall increase. I do want to note the specific plan would still have about 238 agricultural residential units assumed in it. The Center School District had initially expressed concerns over a potential shortfall in funding, but my understanding is that the applicant is going to address that and that they have come to an agreement with the school district. The Design Review Advisory Committee reviewed this, and they actually expressed the opinion that this particular project should have some commercial and turn it to itself. I think planning staff reached a different conclusion, which is that the commercial should really stay focused at the corner of Alberta and 16th as a cohesive town center and not be spread out between the two areas. So just to point that out. The Community Planning Advisory Council recommended approval on a 4-0 vote in June. The Planning Commission recommended approval on a 4-0 vote in September. With regard to environmental issues, there has been a new air quality management plan prepared. This project does, because of the timing of its approval, has to meet higher standards than the overall specific plan. The specific plan had a 15% reduction required, and this plan has to meet a 30% reduction. And so they are proposing to incorporate low-emitting water heaters in all of the homes, water heaters that would generate less greenhouse gas emissions, and approximately a third of the homes would have solar roofs, and things like the rec center would have solar panels. Those are examples of some of the things that they'll have to incorporate in order to meet that 30% emission reduction. With regard to noise, we do know that 16th Street someday will be a very busy road, and so there probably will need to be a sound wall along those roads. The alternative is to have a very big setback, but that may not be feasible, so it's likely that there will be a sound wall on 16th. And we have done the alley-loaded product on the loop road in order to keep driveway cuts off that road, but homes fronting on it. And we did talk a little bit about some of the traffic and the traffic improvements. With regard to drainage, the project proponents are proposing an interim drainage plan that does not rely on off-site drainage corridor improvements. There will be an ultimate drainage plan assumed in the build-out of the Alberta specific plan, but both scenarios under both the interim condition and the ultimate condition will limit off-site runoff to lower than it is right now, so as to not impact the homes downstream. Your board had addressed water supply back in September of 2016 when you made a consistency finding on policy PF8, so you've already done that. And with regard to off-site water and sewer infrastructure, there will be additional review required when construction level details come in. That is a necessary component of all the Alberta specific plan projects. There are a host of conditions requiring infrastructure to be installed prior to development breaking ground. With regard to public outreach, I mentioned the final CPAC meeting, but there also had been a couple of CPAC workshops along the way that are referenced on this slide. There initially had been more concerns, but by the time we got to the final CPAC meeting, a fair amount of that seems to have been worked out, and there was overall a more positive reaction from the community. And this slide summarizes the numerous recommendations, some of which would be actions you would take today and some of which would be tentative approvals. That concludes the staff presentation.
Okay, Supervisor Frost.
I want to thank you for the wonderful reading during my morning and night hours. And somewhere in there, I saw something about the overflight zone. Is this within the path of air flight? Is that what that means?
It had originally been in the McClellan overflight, which plan has not actually formally been entirely updated, but the noise contours are reduced from operations. So I'm looking to staff, but I believe the issue is that we are requiring navigation easements on some of the properties because of the proximity to McClellan.
So I don't know if there's a homeowners association or CCNRs. How do homeowners who are buying in receive notifications so later on they're not coming back saying, well, I didn't know a plane was going to start flying over my home?
So the navigation, yes. So the navigation easements actually get recorded on the title. So they're recorded. So when you buy your home, they show up as part of the title search. Okay. So that every homeowner will get that in perpetuity, and it's not the responsibility of one homeowner or a homeowners association to inform them. It's recorded on your title.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay. Other members of the board, questions? I just had one, Leanne. Is there any requirement for the mitigation for farmland conversion, or this was already out of the category where that would have been required?
This was ag res already.
So it already moved from the category where that would be required?
Yeah, so I think that farmland mitigation, I don't believe was required.
I know it was, again, in my review, I wasn't able to find anything specific. It was commented upon in the, the impacts in the opening page on the environmental document. On the land use section, I didn't see it, but.
So there is a chapter in the
Which chapter?
Agriculture.
Okay.
We do have a mitigation measure, AG1, that requires mitigation for the loss of 150 acres of local importance farmland.
Okay. And the mitigation, does that require, is that in-county mitigation?
Yes, that is actually part of the general plan policy, AG5, which is the basis for our mitigation.
Okay. All right, thanks. That's the only question I had. I don't have any other questions by board members at this juncture then. Leanne, stand by. And I do have some people signed up, but the representatives for the applicant, Mr. Abbas.
Chair Natoli, members of the board, Nick Abdus with the Thomas Law Group on behalf of the Northborough Project, and I have been sworn. Maybe if I can get my PowerPoint up there.
That picture is going to be historical one of these days, I think. Okay.
Okay. I'll just say while we're getting that up that I'm very excited to be here. Obviously, this is the first project to come out of the Alberta Specific Plan. It's really a project that's going to set the tone and the tenor for development out there and the expectations, certainly. this project, the applicants are comprised of River West Investments, AKT Development, and Wind Communities. Truly the titans when it comes to land development and building communities in the greater Sacramento region, and have a history of many, many decades combined and tens of thousands of lots developed. Over time, what this team of development companies has found is that there's a formula for creating successful communities, and that really entails the development and build out of a club feature, a clubhouse/rec center. And there's a few examples that you might be familiar with. This is the Natomas Park, very popular actually in my backyard in Natomas. This is Stone Lake down in the Elk Grove area. This is Heritage Park, an age-restricted community also in North Natomas, also a very, very popular community. And then we have Blackstone and El Dorado Hills. And for this project, for the Northborough project, and really Northborough 2 that you'll hear later in January, really comprise a single project. There's different ownership interests in the two projects, so that's why they were separate. But this is from the cannery in Davis, and it really sort of is an homage to the agricultural heritage of the area, and we thought very fitting inspiration for the clubhouse feature in Northborough, being in the Alberta, Rio Linda area, obviously very strong agricultural roots. That's, it's where I'm from. I ranch not too far from here. So as Leanne mentioned, this is the project within the Alberta Specific Plan. Obviously this project, the Alberta Specific Plan project was many decades in the making. The discussions going back as far as the 1980s, a little bit of history. That's me in the 1980s. So a lot has changed since then. Subsequent to the approval.
Forgot to share your Christmas pictures.
You want some? Maybe I'll bring some the next year.
I think that's my former chief of staff too. Right?
It is. It is. Those were good days, I'll tell you. Those were good days. In any event, the Placer Vineyard project, as you heard, is approximately 5,000 units, 5,000 acres, 14,000 units immediately north. Obviously changed, was a game changer. When originally conceived, the Alberta Specific Plan intended to feather densities into large agricultural spaces into Placer County. But obviously with Placer Vineyards getting approved, what it in essence created is really a donut hole of development there. So we really took that as an opportunity to rethink some of the aspects of the Alberta Specific Plan, and an opportunity to engage the community given the new planning realities of the area. So we engaged in a significant amount of community outreach, many years and many hours, countless meetings, several CPAC presentations, obviously unanimous positive recommendation from the CPAC. We had 3 large neighborhood meetings at Cherry Island. We made presentations to the Park District and other agencies, and really hundreds of stakeholders over time. And what that resulted in was the project that you have here. I pulled the parcel lines off so you can kind of get a sense. Obviously we have varying housing types, as Leanne mentioned, from alley loaded to executive style homes, and next to the detention basin here. Oh, where's that mouse? This detention basin here. The rec center is here, as you see. The elementary school, the rec center, Gibson Ranch, and then what's not depicted on this map here is a 30-acre regional sports park that we currently own and will be dedicating to the Rio Linda Parks and Rec District as part of this project. Really form sort of the nodes of community and the aspects of the project that really drove its design. This next slide here shows you, I won't go through all these, but really shows all the changes we made to the plan over the years with all that input that we gathered. Some of the aspects, as Leanne mentioned, that we increased the school size, they enlarged the detention basin here. There is a berm on Gibson Ranch here that has some potential in the future, depending on weather conditions and the amount of water. It could present a flood risk. So what we did was we designed a Tanwood Road here to facilitate that water flow and enlarge the basin to accommodate that. along the southern portion of our property, we heard loud and clear from the folks that live in this community here. 1 acre lots did not want traffic connectivity through their community, understandably so, with roughly 14,000 units going in Placer County, and traffic being like water going through the path of least resistance. There was fear of significant traffic impacts through their community. So we put this 100-foot buffer here and included it's a landscape trail. We'll include an equestrian and pedestrian path, and folks were very pleased with that. Obviously, also the other aspect is we are donating reserving a site for the Rio Linda Alberta Water Company here. This isn't required of our project, but obviously, as you well know, there's an issue with water quality and system-wide resiliency out in the Rio Linda area due to the chromium-6 plume from McClellan. This site would be outside of that plume and therefore providing a safe source of drinking water for existing residents in the water company. This exhibit here shows the pedestrian equestrian connectivity. Here, as you will see, we currently have this path, this equestrian path here. As I mentioned, it also goes along and around the detention basin and along Tanwood and provides connectivity to Gibson Ranch. There's also obviously a significant amount of pedestrian connectivity throughout the plan. So this slide tried to articulate the many project benefits that we believe this project possesses. Given the enhanced project design and the quality master plan community that we've created through this plan, we feel it's going to provide really a lift up in the community and really provide, the investment in quality development in an area that really wants it. The significant amount of trail connectivity in the sports park, as we discussed. I talked about the flood protection aspects and the water supply reliability and system-wide resiliency. The other big thing that we heard when we engaged community members was really a strong desire to have shopping opportunities, particularly a grocery store out in that area. There is a dearth of those types of amenities. As we know, that market has changed significantly with Amazon. The retail sector is undergoing a massive amount of changes. And where at one time you maybe needed 4,000 or 5,000 rooftops to support a grocery store, you're now close to 8,000. And so, we believe that the increase in density in this project for the Alberta specific plan, combined with some of the units in Placer Vineyards, because you usually look at an area within a mile of a retail center, really are going to provide that critical mass that could facilitate development of the commercial core in the Alberta specific plan at 16th in Alberta. Obviously, a significant amount of support for Gibson Ranch, bringing in folks that will utilize that facility is, that's truly a gem for our entire community, and it really needs, I think, more support, which means more people visiting that site, and putting a significant amount of folks right next door is going to provide a significant amount of resources to Gibson Ranch. Also, what we heard from folks in the community was the amount of traffic currently on roadways that folks consider overtaxed, in the sense that they're under designed for the amount of traffic that's using those facilities. You, Supervisor Frost, mentioned the crossing there at 28th and Alberta. That is a choke point, and we heard it loud and clear from folks that if you're going to build more houses, you got to bring in the resources to make the traffic improvements to make things better for folks out there now. And obviously with Placer Vineyards going in, they're not going to be providing that funding to the county for all the impacts that those traffic trips that are generated in Placer County will have on existing county roadways. So having a significant source of funding to help facilitate those projects is very important. And the last point was also something that resonated with folks. While there's a strong sense of identity in the Rio Linda, Alberta area with regards to their agricultural and rural past and their desire for a rural lifestyle, there is a balance to be struck, and this project does provide a significant amount of amenities that do support the rural lifestyle, including, obviously, increasing the availability of amenities like equestrian trails, pedestrian parks, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I appreciate the chance to tell you a little bit about the project, and happy to answer any questions and urge for your support.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Any questions, Mr. Avis? Okay, if not, thank you, Nick. All right. Then if there's no one else from the applicant team, then I have 4 folks, actually 3 folks signed to speak on this. If there are others that wish to speak, I get a form in, I'll call upon you as I get that. I believe it's Jeff Pemstein, and then Sandra Armour and Doug Ossie.
Good afternoon, Chair Natoli, members of the board. Jeff Pemstein with the RCH Group. So we have the good fortune of representing the Alberta Specific Plan Owners Group, the Phase 1 Owners Group, who are in the process of preparing a series of tentative maps coming forward. And I'm here today to speak on behalf of that group in support of the Northborough General Plan Amendment, Specific Plan Amendment, the suite of entitlements. We firmly believe that the additional density makes sense in light of the substantial infrastructure lift that we're going to need to put in out here. So we're looking forward to working with Northborough as part of the effort to put the infrastructure plans together, the financing plans together, the sports park together, and finally, after probably close to 30 years bringing Alberta out of the ground. So it's been a very lengthy process. And my last comment that I would make is also as the chair of the California Building Industry Association this year, and that is that I would encourage the county to make Alberta a top priority project. It's badly needed housing. It's the right place. It's a project that, whether it's Northborough or the other pieces that are coming along, is going to provide some great housing in this county. So I would encourage that to be a priority going forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? If not, thanks, Jeff.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Sandra. And then Doug. Good afternoon.
Hi. My name is Sandra Armour, and I own property on Casser Road.
Okay. And you've been sworn, Sandra? You were sworn?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, okay.
We moved out there in the early 70s, and the roads out there are rural. They're all single-lane roads. Today, they're the exact same roads that were there then. When we moved there, you could count the cars that came down the road, in a day. Now I can't get out of the driveway without waiting for traffic to break because of all the commuters that are coming from Placer County and cutting through on our roads. I think with 14,000 homes going in right on my property line, this is a logical step for Sacramento County to take. We need this development, and it'd really be nice to have a good grocery store to go to, and we're not going to get it if we don't get people. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Sandra, for your comments, for being here. Okay, Mr. Ossie. And Doug's the last person I've signed up, so if anybody else wishes to speak, please get a form in.
Doug Ossie, I've been sworn, 4013 Park Road, Sacramento. As most of you probably have heard too many times, I operate Gibson Ranch. I have come down here to speak in favor of this project. Just as an operator, I can't think of a better neighbor than Brian Vale and his partners. We work together on homeless issues, fire issues, cleanup of the road on Casser and Dyer and 16th. We cooperate on different things when their farmer needs access or I need extra parking. These guys reach out, they make a decision, they lend a hand, and they make stuff happen. I heartily encourage you to endorse this project. These are the kind of people and the kind of projects we need for our community. They will do a good job. The only thing that I'd add is that Alberta needs to be 6 lanes. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, Mr. Ossie, about 6 lanes? No? Got it. All right, thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, that's the extent of the speakers. Anyone else wish to address the board on this? Yes, Mr. Avis.
Thank you, Chair Natoli. One thing that I omitted from addressing was the points that you raised regarding the 2 parcels that were not a part of our plan. I just want to let you know we've been in active discussions with those folks, and they are interested in selling those properties, and we've designed our infrastructure and roadways to obviously accommodate that eventuality, which we feel is going to happen sooner rather than later. So we have been in close communication with those folks, and they have not requested any sort of plan, special accommodation from a land use perspective. So we fully
I know you
anticipate.
shared on the one parcel when I met with you, but I wasn't. You said the other one you had approached them and we're going to design around it. But I just was curious about the one I guess that sits at the county line.
Yeah, both have expressed interest. We're in active discussions with one of them currently. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then unless there's any other comments from the audience or the applicant group, then back to the board. Leanne, I'll invite you back to the podium and turn to Supervisor Frost if you want to, comments or questions, and then we'll go down the line here.
I don't really have any questions. I do, in my first year on the board, I've had a lot of discussions with the community around how they wish they had a sit-down restaurant and how they wish their commercial area would come back, how they wish they could get their roads fixed. And I know that over time, it seems like a lot of the people who really wanted it to stay rural are now understanding that we need more rooftops if we want our local economy to thrive. And the community seems very supportive of this project, and so I'm prepared to move staff's recommendation to approve it, but I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
Okay, yeah, we have Supervisor Cerna.
Yeah, I'm happy to second the motion for approval of this project. And I just wanted to say that as someone who in his previous life helped manage portions of this a long time ago, it's gratifying to see that with the action today, we're going to take a step closer to actually seeing much needed housing, not just for the county, but for the entire region, materializing sooner rather than later out there. And I think for some of the reasons that have been stated by local residents here today, in terms of some of the other community amenity that comes out of a project that's comprehensively planned like this, I think it's going to be a great addition to our county and to that part of the community. So I'm delighted to provide my second on this.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second. Do we have any other comments by anybody else on the board? Okay, I know we can only take tentative action on some of this, and so you'll walk us through what the motion will encompass for today's purposes, Leanne.
Yes, so working off the recommendations in your board report, we would be asking you to take actions on recommendations 1, 2, and 3. Those are all final actions related to the CEQA document, the findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, and the MMRP. We would have you defer action on recommendation 4, and then we would have you take actions on recommendations 5 through 12, all of which are tentative approvals, and then continue the item to your January 23rd, 2018 agenda for the rezone and map.
Okay. Make your motion. That's all encompassed and second. Okay. All right. Unless there's any further comments, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Thanks for all your hard work on.
And I'm pretty sure I've probably worked on this longer than anybody else, because I think my first week at the county when I was in 1988 was actually on this project, indirectly related to this project. So it's been a long time.
Okay. Everybody has a lot of history with it. More to come. So, okay. All right. Very good. Thank you all. And with that, then we'll go to our next item.
Item number 4 is the Fair Oaks Boulevard Complete Street Master Plan, a general plan amendment for a portion of Fair Oaks Boulevard between Howe Avenue and Monroe Street and Fulton Avenue between Fair Oaks Boulevard and Sierra Boulevard in the Arden Arcade community.
Okay, Leanne.
All right, I am going to kick off with the first slide on this item and then turn it over primarily to the Department of Transportation staff because this is really their project, although there is a general plan component. So the item before you today is the Fair Oaks Boulevard Complete Street Master Plan. The item relates to the general plan because when we updated the general plan in 2011, the general plan established a smart growth street policy along with a number of candidate corridors. And the concept here was really to improve mobility for all modes of travel, including pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and transit, to create a sense of place and a center of activity, to strengthen neighborhood cohesiveness and stimulate economic development. And so there was a bit of a policy shift from looking only at autos to looking at autos along with other modes of travel. And so this is one of our first complete street projects to come forward. We have a whole team here to help you work this through. We have Mike Penrose of Public Works. We have Ron Vicari, the Director of Transportation. We have Matt Darrow, who's hiding behind me, who's going to give the bulk of the presentation. And we have Adrian Engel with Farron Piers, who also worked hard on the project. So with those introductory remarks, I will get out of the way and allow Matt Darrow with Transportation to give the presentation.
Great. Yeah, first time in 2017, I think you've been before us.
Yeah, that's right.
I know, you've been staying pretty shy. But
let's see if I can figure out how to, is it just arrow?
And you're usually sitting over to the right. You're up front and
That's
center.
right. Yeah. Get to sit down and talk, but now I get to stand up today.
Welcome.
Thanks. As Leanne said, Matt Darrow. I'm the project manager for this master plan. So I am going to take about 5 minutes of your time and go through about 10 slides here and summarize what we've been doing for the last 3 years. Our task was to develop a multimodal streetscape master plan for the Fair Oaks Boulevard segment between Howe and Monroe, as well as Fulton Avenue between Fair Oaks and Sierra. And funding for this project was provided by a 2014 SACOG Bike and Ped grant that also included construction dollars for 2 signalized ped crossings on Fair Oaks, and we call that phase 1 of the project. And as I hit the button here, I'm trying to overlay where the city falls in relationship to the county. And you can see that this corridor is right up against the city, and we've coordinated what we've done so far with the city. We kicked off this whole process in 2014 by going to the Arden Arcade CPAC, and over the next 3 years, we held a number of very well-attended public workshops, had a walk audit of the project area, met with a number of business interests, took the project to the SACPAC, went back to the CPAC and Planning Commission, and received positive recommendations to get us where we are here today at the board. And not only did the feedback we received help us to define the preferred alternative for the master plan, but it also showed us that there was significant support in the community to making changes along the corridor. Now I wanted to take a quick look at the highlights included in the preferred alternative. I don't have a pointer to use, so I'll just try to describe verbally here. There's going to be 4 new pedestrian crossings on Fair Oaks Boulevard in the form of 2 new signalized intersections. And if you look at the drawing, the one all the way to the left is Fair Oaks and Howe, and that exists today. If you move from left to right, Fair Oaks and University is a newly signalized location that we're going to propose. And then you have the next signal at Fulton and Fair Oaks we're proposing. And then all the way to the right is the existing signal of Monroe and Fair Oaks. And then we'll have 2 new signalized pedestrian crossings. Shown here in this drawing is the 2 orange arrows. The one on the left is in the vicinity of Pavilions, and the one on the right is near Loman's Plaza. We'll be narrowing this stretch of Fair Oaks Boulevard to 4 lanes to make it consistent with the number of lanes to the east and west of this location. And we'll use that right-of-way to provide protected bikeways along the corridor. We'll be keeping the 2-way frontage roads because those will allow us to keep driveways consolidated and off of Fair Oaks Boulevard. And we'll also close some of the currently allowed turning movement openings in the median and frontage road where we will put additional streetscape and trees in those locations. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have funding to construct the 2 PED signals at phase 1 of our project, and here's a more detailed look at this slide. On the right, this is the Loman's Plaza location across from Sierra Fair Apartments, and on the left, you have the Pavilions location, which is roughly located between Talbot's and McDonald's. In both cases, the crossings will be signalized and high visibility markings will be installed, and frontage road bulb outs will be included where the frontage road exists. And none of the other preferred alternative improvements that I mentioned in the previous slide will occur with Phase 1 of the project. And if we do get approval of this Phase 1, we anticipate being able to construct in 2018 this portion of the project. Yeah.
Go on.
Sure.
In case someone is watching, explain what a pedestrian signal is.
So basically,
and when the light would turn.
Sure, it's a push button in this situation. If you come up and you're pedestrian, instead of what we're seeing out there a lot today, people not wanting to walk all the way to the east end at Monroe or all the way to the west end at Howe, we're seeing people run across the road, quite frankly. So we are going to provide 2 ped crossings. Somebody would come up, push a button, a signal head would stop traffic. Those signal heads would be coordinated with the other signal heads along the corridor. Person would get across, traffic would resume.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now jumping back to the master plan, I wanted to show some of the conceptual details of the 2 new signalized intersections at University and Fulton. If you look at the slide, the left picture depicts what Fair Oaks and University would look like as we're proposing, signalized intersection. And on the right, it would be Fair Oaks, Fulton, and Fairgate would all intersect at that location. Full access turning movements would be allowed at both locations. And the southbound sweeping free right that we have right now at Fulton and Fair Oaks would be squared up and intersect at Fair Oaks across from Fairgate. Keep in mind that these aren't final designs at this point. This is a master plan level document, but this is basically, when we get into design, what we're going to try to deliver. And if you look close enough, you can see the physical separation of the on-street bike lanes and the green pavement treatments that we're proposing for the separated bike.
May I pause for a second? We have
Sure.
Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's hard to tell from these exhibits, but is there still going to be the, I think it's at Pavilions, still going to be the odd three-way, what was it? Yeah, three-way stop.
Where it's marked, don't enter this area.
Exactly.
So as I mentioned, we have funding for Phase 1, which are the 2 signalized ped crossings. That would go in without any change to that, but the master plan would remove a lot of that center, funky intersections and hashed out
funky is
pavements.
putting it lightly.
Yeah. We've all driven out there. It's confusing, and that's the whole point of this project. Or one of the major points. But yeah.
Matt.
Yeah.
Before you leave that,
Sure.
see if I can think of how to say this. Let's talk about the University and Fair Oaks Boulevard piece. And if you're coming from University going over to the Pavilion Shopping Center,
right.
Those are bulb outs there?
Well, and on the north side of the intersection or the top of the intersection, that's as I mentioned, this is not a design drawing yet, but conceptually we know we're going to have to bulb something out like that, whether or not it ends up designed like
what
that.
I want to caution you about is that looks like a really difficult right turn once you get through the intersection. If you've got to go past the bulb out, and if we have a lot of people with 4-wheel drives and large vehicles, and making that right turn looks almost as hard as it is now.
Sure.
And I think we want to better that and make it easier for people.
It looks like a 110-degree turn, not a 90-degree turn.
It looks harder than it is now. So
sure.
I think the goal would be that and what happens is people stop and then they back up, and it's quite the dance out there.
That's some of the stuff that we see at that other funky intersection. Some of the stuff that Supervisor Cerna was just mentioning happens at those locations.
Well, right, but
we don't want that.
Little level of detail there. I don't really like those bulb outs. I mean, I understand the need for pedestrian, but there's a lot of road rage that goes on if they can't make a right turn.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
And this may be a good point to point out right now is that if this does pass, our design, this will all get turned over to our design team that's going to go through and work out the details and dot the I's, cross the T's.
So now you have it on the record that 2 supervisors are worried about that turn.
Could I add one more?
And they're watching right now.
One more question to that. I think it's a good observation about the geometry of that intersection once you're past Fair Oaks right away there. Is that going to be restricted access to just vehicular passenger traffic, or is there kind of double semi truck that's delivering something to Williams-Sonoma go that direction?
I'm sure we'd have to restrict that sort of traffic.
So there'll be signage and...
We could sign that, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh.
That, I mean,
I hope it's better than that.
Yeah, I mean, if that would be...
When we design, we'll do a turning track movement to see if a vehicle could even, that type of vehicle.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a problem with vehicle length for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that if they can't make the right-hand turn onto the frontage road, depending on the length of the vehicle, they might have their rear end still sticking out on Fair Oaks Boulevard.
That's what I'm saying, and sometimes people back up, and I don't know what you're going to do there, but we're going to be scrutinizing that.
Okay, so noted. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's see. I think I got through this, what I wanted to say anyhow. And then because we are going to signalize Fair Oaks and Fulton, we need to make modifications up at Monroe and Sierra, because currently traffic that heads northbound and wants to head northbound on Fulton has to come up to this intersection, make a right, head south on Monroe right now, make a U-turn to head north on Fulton. And so we can't have that anymore if we make the modifications at Fulton and Fair Oaks. So we're going to modify this intersection conceptually like this. And we have made the commitment to returning to the Arden Arcade CPAC, because we had input when we went through there last time to return during the design phase to talk about pedestrian crossing locations and intersection design and layout.
So if you're on Sierra,
If you're on Sierra,
sorry, my screen just did something weird. Okay, and you're headed east. Right now, you cannot make a right turn onto Fulton. Will that persist?
No. What's going on is...
I mean, you can't make a right turn on Red.
Okay. We're going to talk about that. The design guys will design it. We'll come back through
I don't know how you do it, but...
yeah, that'll be something that the community wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you have a pointer?
So there's no pointer.
There's no pointers
work
for
on the
this.
screen.
He has a point, he just doesn't have a pointer.
That's right.
Yes.
If Supervisor Peters is finished with her comments, I had another one about that intersection and some of the movements here.
Okay.
If you're northbound on Monroe and you now have a designated left,
yes.
Does that mean that the movement could choose between making a left and heading west on Sierra, or is that also permitting the driver to make a V-turn, a U-turn, essentially to go southbound on Fulton?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be one of the things that we need to design and decide.
Yeah.
Because that's a long and narrow intersection, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, let's see. And so I mentioned that we're committed to going back through the CPAC during the design of this to work out all those issues and make sure we're not doing anything that the community doesn't enjoy.
And we're just supposed to focus on the bike lane here, right?
Yes.
Those are the ugly landscaping, you mean?
Or the tall buildings.
Yeah. No, I thought I'd throw this slide up here that shows what a separated bike lane could look like. We're proposing this along Fair Oaks. This is what it could look like when it's constructed. Bikes would be physically separated from traffic, but be located on the roadway, not on the frontage road. The biking community, we went to the biking community, said that this was most preferred and they were most comfortable with this sort of setup. And then also you can see some of the referenced green treatment of pavement that helps identify the bike path for the bicyclist and alerts drivers to any potential conflict areas. And then finally, I thought it was important to point out some of the items that, while they weren't part of our project, they did come out of the outreach effort, and they came to our attention. And some of those were sidewalk improvements along Fair Oaks Boulevard east of Monroe. Some desire came up about that. Filling sidewalk gaps on Sierra Boulevard, bikeway connections to the American River Parkway, pedestrian crossing on Fulton Avenue, and continue our collaboration with the city for pedestrian crossings of Monroe Street near Latham Drive. And we plan to consider these items for future projects, future grant apps, and funding cycles.
Could you pause there for a second?
Yep.
So back to a couple of things here. So these are other needs. Are these included in the plan?
These are not part of our project, but as we went through that 3-year outreach project process that I mentioned, these are things that came out of the community input.
Okay, I think
that we
sidewalk
heard.
improvements on Fair Oaks Boulevard, East Monroe is part of your plan. Mr. Bakari?
Yeah, Ron Vicari, Director of Transportation. It is part of our plan and what we're looking for as a future phase of the project.
Right.
So when we did the phase near Monroe that would move westerly, we would include, for instance, tying the sidewalks into the neighborhood, the sidewalks going from Monroe east into the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think
As
we
well.
should discuss the sidewalks on Sierra too. If this is, a major portion of this project is to give the communities in the area the ability to walk to shopping. And Sierra is kind of, I guess, and I'm talking about this piece of Sierra between Howe and Fulton, where all the condominiums are in that area. It's got about, I had 60% sidewalks, 70% sidewalks, and I think we ought to discuss getting that in there too, because it's pretty hairy. I mean, it's a busy street as opposed to over in Sierra Oaks Vista. And so this sidewalk gaps on Sierra Boulevard, I'd like to discuss further with you as being a part of the project. And then, Matt, as long as you brought it up, the collaboration with the city for the pedestrian crossing on Monroe Street,
Right.
that dominated several of the meetings.
Yeah, that's correct.
We had, even though it's in the city. And
Right.
I know the city's been out there doing a few things. Do you know if it looks like they're about to spend some money there, but I can't tell.
I haven't seen anything in a long time, but the last I saw, in terms of a plan that they asked our input on, was a pedestrian crossing that narrowed down Monroe with striping. It made it safer for somebody to cross at Latham.
No pedestrian signal or?
Not a signal. And I do not know where the city stands on that, but we'll check into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And really, with that concludes the presentation that we had. Here's a list of the staff recommendations. I'm not going to read them. I'll just leave them up there. But we have our whole project team, like Leanne mentioned earlier, here to answer any questions that come up.
Okay. All right, thank you, Matt. Let me go to my colleagues here. Any other further questions?
Do you have any?
Couple speakers.
Couple speakers. Let's
Yeah.
hear from them first.
Okay. All right, I have two speakers. Maybe others wish to speak. If you do, you need to get a form in. But I have Diane Slavich and then Fritz Brown.
Who's the first one?
Diane Slavich.
I'm going to pass.
You're passing, Diane?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then Fritz. Is it Fritz Brown?
Yes.
Okay, Fritz, come on down, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Fritz Brown. My office is at 3600 American River Drive. I'm here to speak in behalf of the project that the staff has presented to you. But more importantly, and first of all, I want to thank the board very much for the resolution they gave me last week. I'm 50 years in the commercial brokerage business. Now, that's the good part. I'm still relevant, I think, to my clients. The bad part is I'm dealing with some younger people that I have sport coats older than they are. And this doesn't happen to be one, as a matter of fact. I had a new first the other day. I'm dealing with a young man whose grandfather I worked with 50 years ago at Coldwell Banker and Company. So, at any rate, again, we're very supportive of the staff. I represent approximately 20 property owners along the Fair Oaks Boulevard. I'm going to give you the list of names, and we've met with the staff and with the consultants at least 5 or 6 times, and those are the people that I represent are the U.S. Bank Building owned by the Janulius family, the William Glenn Shopping Center owned by the Marketich, Greg Marketich, Roxy Shopping Center, Loman's Plaza owned by the Bollinger family, the Pavilion Shopping Center, Joseph A. Banks Building owned by the Swanson family, Ettore Shopping Center, which I've owned for over 30 years, the Zinfandel Grill, Pavilion's Car Wash, Bernardo's, Randy Pergari, Sumo Sushi, which I hope somebody buys it and remodels it, if you know the building I'm talking about. Office building at 2277 Fair Oaks, owned by John Saka, 2257 Fair Oaks, Building 2275 Fair Oaks, 2410 Fair Oaks owned by Brian Vale, 2251 Fair Oaks owned by Mike Stumbos. Anyway, we are in favor of the project. We've met with the staff again several times, and we've been monitoring this for at least a year and a half. So with that, Phil, I want to mention that I played football with your father 60 years ago in Lodi. I knew him when he weighed 160 pounds. Of course, he gained a little bit since then, but
I guess since he's passed, you can make a public announcement of his weight.
Sorry, but I did. He was a very tough football player.
I believe he made varsity as either a freshman or a sophomore.
As a sophomore, yeah. He was an end, and I was a guard on the team. So anyway,
it's good to see you again.
Well, thank you, Fritz. Thanks for the walk down memory lane and representing.
One other comment. Let me just make some other comments.
Sure, okay.
Is my time up or not?
No, it's not. I'd stopped
When I started Coa Baker in 1967, there were 9 of us in the office. I talked to Dave Brennan this morning. He has 67 salesmen.
Wow.
When I started, there were 5 commercial brokerage companies and maybe 35 salesmen. Today, according to the Chuck Trainer has a list of the commercial brokerage firms. He says there's 452 commercial brokerage firms and over 1,000 commercial brokers and agents. So from 35 to 1,000.
Wow.
Quite a job.
Wow.
Anyway, there's more business now anyway.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fritz.
Thanks for coming in, Fritz.
Congratulations on your years of service, too. Okay, next then Christine Meyer and then Ann Cole.
Do I need to be sworn in?
No, not on this item.
No.
Nope, you're good. And we promise not to swear at you either. How's that? Anyway, Christine, welcome.
I am Christine Mayer. I have 2 properties on Sierra Boulevard, 2585 Sierra Boulevard and 691 Lilac Lane, which is our residence, and our field, I don't know the north, south, east, west, is on Sierra Boulevard.
Both in Sierra Oaks Vista.
And I live in Sierra Oaks Vista.
These properties, are they on the east side of Fulton Avenue?
One east, one west. So the light, that intersection, I'm here primarily for that intersection at Sierra Monroe Fulton. It's crazy. There's huge safety issues that need to be looked at. And I'm grateful, I wanted to say, I'm glad this will go to the Art and Arcade CPAC so we can all look at it. I got the notice that this was coming up on the 4th, as you said. It's a hectic, crazy time. And so I'm here to say I'd like this whole intersection to be closely looked at so that we can have impact for those of us who actually will walk, will bike. Which brings me to my next point. If there is no mature landscaping, and I don't mean short little trees as tall as me, I mean mature shade trees on Fair Oaks Boulevard, Sierra Boulevard, Monroe, no one will bike, no one will walk. I've walked the streets of DC, I've ridden their bikes in DC. Everywhere I go, it's shady. You can ride in humidity. We get 115-degree weather. If these businesses want walking, cycling, environment, they've got to support a shady community, which is the third point. Shade eats up pollution. At the last meeting I came to, there will be an increase in pollution, and it was up to a grade F. I'm not sure what that means, but it will go up. Shade, mature trees absorb exorbitant amounts of that pollution. I will not walk or ride or run if I'm going to be sucking up exhaust fumes. So that has to be, landscaping is not just a aesthetic thing, it's a health issue, and it's imperative to a long-term old tree environment. And so that's it. Safety, mature trees, pollution. As far as a bicycle connection to the American, that was the last, to the bike trail, it is in the works. All this will be done, but for bikes and pedestrians, it will still stagnate at the bridge. There will not be a connection for some time. So keep that in mind, and that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you attend the CPAC meeting?
I have attended 2 of those, yes, okay. And I went to the planning ones and made my views clearly known that Fair Oaks Boulevard is a boulevard that serves Carmichael to ESAC. and it should not be broken up into a myriad of little pieces like Sunrise with concrete and no landscaping, because if you look at it now, you will not see a walker or a cyclist on that street.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, Ann Cole. Hello, Ann. Been a long time since we've seen you in the chamber,
I
so
know.
good to see you.
It has been a long
Hi.
time. My name's Ann. Excuse me? Oh,
No,
I think- My name's Ann Cole, and I live on Sierra Boulevard, down the street from Chris. And I've been there since 1960, so talk about old. I support the Complete Street project for Fair Oaks Boulevard, Monroe to Howell. Prior to 2006, I was chair of the ECOS Transportation Committee. That's what you saw a lot of me.
That's right, you bet.
And ECOS advocated for complete streets policies in our ECOS Transportation Vision Plan. So we're happy to see, evidently this is the first one. I'm excited. I would like to thank county staff, John Lundgren, Matt Darrow, Todd Smith, Dean Blank, and the others that were involved in this project, and the Farron Piers consultants for an open process. I think I attended every hearing. I'm not sure, maybe I came in late for a couple of them, but I got there. And the creative design for this complete street. And I'm happy to see some of the particulars are going to be coming back. There are specific issues with this Fair Oaks project that I wish to address and emphasize. The first one is the drainage. That was outlined in the environmental report, and because of our flooding issues in Sierra Oaks Vista, we are really interested in this issue. It draws attention to drainage in the project area and includes specific measures to remove hard surface materials, asphalt and cement, in order to reduce the impervious surface area in the project and ensure that drainage and hydrology functionality is addressed. Now, we celebrate that the report states that drainage is to be kept on the project site. Presently, this project area is impacted with flooding from when we have major storms. Flash floods occur at Monroe and Fair Oaks Boulevard intersection. You can't pass it in the winter, and that was, we've had 3 major winters, and I don't think it was too bad this winter, but we haven't really seen a major storm. Storm water runoff adds drainage also to the Strong Ranch Slough. This can affect both Woodside flooding, and you know they have had a lot of flooding at Woodside, and creates a backflow into the Sierra branch of the Strong Ranch Slough in the Sierra Oaks Vista neighborhood. So they have addressed that, and we appreciate that the county EIR staff went into details on this issue. It seems to be kind of a new policy, relatively new, maybe 2014. And as the construction occurs, that the present flooding and drainage problems will be improved, and the whole site will be improved further with the project. So I want to say that I was really impressed with that detail in the report, in the environmental report. Now, the other issues which Christine addressed too is the retention of the existing mature sycamore shade trees in the project areas, and to encourage staff to protect and retain these trees. And when they were planted, which the Tree Foundation was involved in, and it was started actually on Fair Oaks Boulevard with this project of planting trees there. They were the wrong trees and we had to replace them, but they were, and they were called, they are signature accent trees in the median and in the frontage. And they're significant features for this area, and they define the corridor now. The mature shade trees presently benefit both pedestrians and bikers, and they decrease the heat sump effect of the asphalt and cement. It's great that new shade trees will be planted, but they can't mitigate for the removal of mature shade trees. New plantings of native shade trees such as oaks will take years to reach the height and shade benefits of the existing sycamore trees. And there's plenty of space if they, during the construction drawings and the location of the new drainage lines can be addressed to do that. And I'm hoping to see those construction plans later. Now, regarding the intersection of Sierra Boulevard, Monroe, and Fulton, it's really not very good now. But however, the preferred design has major safety issues because of the blind curve. And by moving the crosswalks to the south, you have major problems. Also, there's inadequate pedestrian and bike access to Loman Plaza and to the bus stop on Monroe. You have to go through around buildings to get to it from one side to the other. The preferred design was not approved by the Art and Arcade Community Planning Advisory Council, and we really appreciate that the county staff has assured Sierra Oaks Vista residents and the businesses on Fulton that the design plans will return to the CPAC with an improved design, hopefully. Get community input and review. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ann. Good to see you again. Thanks for your comments and for being so attentive to the project. So, okay. Is there anybody else wish to address this? If not, Ann will be the last speaker on this. Okay. With that, then, thanks to all who've participated and brought this to us today and certainly contributed to it. I know we've got some more work to do, it sounds like, but well along the way. So I'll turn to my colleagues. Any comments? If not, we have a staff recommendation. So. Okay.
If there are no comments, then I will make the motion to approve the recommendations of staff. But I also wanted to say this roadway is a section that has been on my mind since I came on the board. I've had many conversations with people about how we can get people across Fair Oaks Boulevard more easily, the accidents on Fair Oaks Boulevard, the speed on Fair Oaks Boulevard, and I think this project will solve many of those questions and comments. This is the only 6-lane section of Fair Oaks Boulevard left. It took me a long time to really realize that. It starts at, again, it comes in at 2 lanes, and then at Howe Avenue, and then it goes back to 2 lanes, or 4 lanes, 2 lanes each way, at Monroe. So that's gives some extra width for Department of Transportation to work with. And I've just heard from so many people that they want to walk to the shopping center, and it's not safe from all different neighborhoods. So I think, again, this project will solve some of those problems. It really is kind of the first truly urban design project in the unincorporated area. It will help a lot of the infill that is happening there. And to the person who spoke about mature landscaping, I'm a big fan of that. We've tried the sycamore trees to put in some big ones in some other spots, and I didn't transplant too well. I can tell you we lost most of them. But, we will certainly be working on that, and our landscape designer is here, and he's shaking his head. He knows. We spent a lot of time together. He's my landscape designer, is how I look at it. So he knows how much it matters to everyone there. So we'll be working on that. I want to thank Department of Transportation for all of the neighborhood meetings. I can't think of another project in my district that had so many neighborhood meetings. There were neighbors, there were business owners. Fritz Brown mobilized the business owners in that section, and the property owners there too. So I think everybody's had input in this. It's been a very open process. It'll be a big change. I'm sure my phone will ring when the pedestrian signals go in. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the changes might, how they improve that area of Art and Arcade, Fair Oaks Boulevard. So, making the motion.
Okay. Second. A motion second. Supervisor Cerna.
And just to clarify, we're taking actions on 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Environmental elements. Yeah.
And deferring action on recommendation 2 for just a minute.
I'll just add that I do want to thank staff for tackling this and hearing from the supervisor for District 3 that this has and continues to be a high priority as someone that has craned his neck a number of times trying to get in and out, especially of the pavilions. It's gratifying to know that we're trying to wrap our minds around how to rectify a pretty difficult, challenging series of improvements, both for aesthetics, but more importantly for safety. So I'm happy to second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? If not, kudos to all who have worked on this. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, now we have a resolution.
Yes, and then we need to take a final vote on the general plan resolution number 2, which is the fourth round, or sort of part B of our general plan round, and that's related to agenda items 1, 3, and 4. So we need a separate vote on that.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded then to take the action on the general plan rounds and items as described. That's the motion. Vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay.
There we go, Matt.
Thank you to all who worked on that. More work to come, but thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mike. Okay, we go to comments. County Executive, I think a couple of items you want to report on, then we'll come back to the board. I know we have some adjournments and some other announcements, so.
Just one quick announcement. We have been working...
Just one second. Just exit quietly, please. We're still going to be in session here for a few more moments, so. Sir?
I don't think they can hear.
Okay, thanks.
So you can go across.
Very quick update. I'm going to ask Paul Lake to give an update on the hotel motel voucher. We have been in negotiations and discussions with St. John's. So, Paul, you want to give an update on that, please?
Yeah, Supervisors, Paul Lake, Chief Deputy County Executive, Social Services Agency. We were approached by St. John's to see if we could add them to our list of motel type facilities that we would place homeless folks in. And we had some discussions with St. John's, and we have made the arrangements to add them to the list of options for when we find some people who need some temporary roof over their head via our motel voucher program. So they're now on the list.
Okay, very good. So we'll have another opportunity for folks, certainly during the winter weather, which we're experiencing now, but to place folks in a safe environment. Well, that's good. I want to kudos to certainly Paul and Ann and others have been working on that. I think Rebecca Sloan here wanted to make some comments depending upon what the announcement was, so that's a good thing. So thanks for your efforts too, Nav, and I'll invite Rebecca up in a moment. So any other items you wanted to announce?
Just wanted to thank the board. We, as 2017 board's coming to a close, we did have a lot of items that we brought, a lot of pending items that we came through, and I know that sometimes they were very long and tedious meetings, but I want to thank you guys for hanging in there, and I'm looking forward to 2018, and I hope everybody has a good holiday season, whatever you celebrate, and see you next year.
Okay, all right. Very good. I'm going to hold board members' comments just for a moment. I think, Rebecca Sloan, you wanted to address the board. I don't know if there's anybody else that, I see someone else in the chambers here, but.
I would just like to thank the Board of Supervisors and the staff for the opportunity to partner again with Sacramento County this year. It's been an interesting year, but we appreciate your patience. We've been very pleased working with Ethan Dye and Ann Edwards and Paul Lake and Nab Gill just in the last 4 or 5 days to pull together a proposal where we can model a program that we already do with the county, which is mental health respite care. It's very temporary care, which fits within the context of the voucher program. So whether it's 3 days or a week or other circumstances where we might find agreement on an extension, we are going to set aside some beds for women and their children and also single women, and we will work hard to make sure that these are folks that are coming directly off the streets, maybe living in their cars or other undesirable circumstances during the winter. So thank you you very much. We look forward to coming back and giving you some regular reports as to how that's going. We understand that there's a unique approach here where it's not just the vouchers, but St. John's will also be feeding the folks that are staying with us, and we appreciate the sponsorship to underwrite those expenses. And I also wanted to thank those of you who sponsored our annual event in November, helping us raise money that we had budgeted for. That's our biggest event of the year, and we really appreciated your support. And in the context of this being your last meeting, I wanted to say happy holidays, happy new year, and we look forward to seeing you in January. We will be watching for that RFP and doing our best to compete for any new future funds for homeless women and children. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rebecca. Thanks for your work on behalf of St. John's. And again, kudos to all. And again, some more opportunities for folks to be housed during the inclement weather. All right. With that, then, let me go to my colleagues. And we have at least one adjournment, but let me take board member comments first. Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to say too much about this, but I'm going to be passing out some materials to both my colleagues and a copy each for County Council, Clerk of the Board, and the CEO. And because of noticing restrictions, I'm not going to go into great detail about this. But what I passed out is a very brief press release and also an ordinance that the City of Chicago recently adopted, actually this October, that attempts to grapple with the issue of sexual harassment and sexual assault in the hospitality industry, in the hotels. And so what I'm asking for today is, in very public fashion, of our county CEO, is to bring back before this board a similar ordinance for us to consider that would look at some similar protections for women that are working in the hospitality hotel business here in Sacramento County.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Stern? Any comments? Nope.
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Mr.
Thank
Kennedy?
you.
Comments? Ms. Peters? Ms. Frost?
Two things. I wanted to ask a question. There was a letter that we received in relation to item number 5 on the agenda today that was a question. She worded it like a public records request. Can I assume the county is responding to the PACE request from Karen Klinger, Realty? She had a question about PACE funding.
I will get the...
Looks like a public records request.
Yeah.
Should my office respond, or is the county responding?
If you can pass it on to me, I'll make sure that we get this responded
Okay.
to.
Everyone got it. I think the clerk got it as well. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just
And-
get it from the clerk.
And then I also wanted to thank the board and NAV for all of your help during District 4 during our first year. And I hope you all have a nice holiday and Happy New Year.
Okay, thanks. All right. Before making just final comments, just would ask that we take the opportunity today to adjourn in memory of a colleague, someone we didn't work probably directly with as members of the Board of Supervisors, but understand the unique structure of the city and county of San Francisco. Certainly, their Mayor Ed Lee, who very unfortunately passed away earlier this week, asked that we would adjourn in his memory. Again, Sacramento and San Francisco certainly have differences, but those of us serving in public life obviously recognize the sacrifices that are made, and he was known for certainly being a very hands-on, kind of low-key person in service, public service in his respective community of San Francisco, and passed away at a very, very far too young age anyway, of 65, and I know many who knew him and certainly supported him in his own home community appreciated his service, but as a fellow public servant and someone who stood for elective office and served a community that's not too geographically distant from us, but certainly one that we are well familiar with. I would ask that we would acknowledge certainly his service and his passing, and our condolences in our adjournment, recognizing former Mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee. And also, I would just note that this has been a good year. We'll get a chance to reminisce a bit more when we pass the gavel when we come back into session in January. But I want to thank my colleagues certainly for your patience and commitment to not only the hours we spend here, but to working together on some challenging issues. I think our County Executive Nav Gill said it well. We've had plenty of opportunity to log hours in these chambers to work together, but it's been a solid year, and one obviously where we've made some significant decisions on behalf of the people we represent, and so I'm pleased to be able to wrap the gavel down in just a moment for the final time this year. We will have a continuation, however, of our closed session item until next Tuesday at 2:30, I believe. Is that correct?
That's what my notes say.
Okay, but this will be our last public session. And with that, I want to wish all of my colleagues and everyone in the audience a happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and looking forward to 2018. So unless there's any other business to come before this body, I'm going to say we're done for this year.